I said, empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the DNBA live show presented by Illegal Pete's.
I have a confession to make. I've stopped making the air horn sound. I just mouth it and I let you guys go with it.
That's awesome.
You suck, man. You suck.
You don't even know.
That's load management. Is what that is.
It is load management.
You guys will learn.
Attention, Illegal Pete's. No free burritos for Eric. None whatsoever. No free queso. In fact, extra free queso.
Double attention to Illegal Pete's. Maybe open back up.
Flex on our sponsors here.
Get back to work, America.
Also flex on the coronavirus, I suppose. I am your host, Adam Matas. I'm joined, as always, by a feisty version of Eric. You know him as Beeline Co.
Sorry, Illegal Pete's.
Is that a Denver Bears shirt? That's a pretty...
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm feeling oddly nostalgic.
Oddly. All right. Well, that's good for today, since it is Star Wars Day and also Jordan Day. So a lot of things to be nostalgic about. Seated to the top right, the man whose hair cannot be contained by a single hat.
Nor should it.
Nor should it. Harrison Wynn.
All right, let's get this thing going here. I got a tea time in like a couple hours. So let's get this going.
Look at that thing. My God.
I know.
You know what? You're like 4 inches taller right now with the hair.
I'm like Ben Wallace back in the day.
Totally Ben Wallace.
Look at that. It's unbelievable.
Going away.
Gary
Going away
Krause.
now.
Harrison Wynn is not that tall.
Nobody's gonna be able to concentrate if I have the hair out all
I certainly couldn't.
It's getting hot in here. Down to the bottom right, it's Brendan Vogt.
I can't follow Wynn's bit there. That tea time was really good. I got nothing. Hey, guys.
That was really tough. Another guy's got nothing. Patrick Baby Boy.
Yeah, same. Honestly, you nailed it. That opening too, man. That opening was sick.
Where did the baby boy come from? Have we talked about this?
So actually, don't tell him, Patrick, because it's actually a great subtle movie reference. And it's probably a movie you guys have all seen. So we'll see in the comments if anybody. Well, people can just.
You guys ever see a flick called Rocky? It's got a lot.
Patrick Baby Boy. That's how it's.
I know what it's from. I put that in my 5 perfect movies.
Oh, you did. Look at that.
Ooh.
You actually did, because I happen to remember your 5 perfect movies.
Was that like for T-Mobile or something?
Movies?
Yes. I put Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind in.
Good pick.
Well, I guess
5.
our trivia is now over, so we have concluded the trivia part. There it is.
Oh,
I just want to talk.
Okay.
I just want to talk favorite 5 movies here. Perfect
I love
movies.
Charlie Kaufman. What a great script.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I had queued up a few. Crap, I can't find them anymore. I had queued up a few vocal stretches. Since it's Monday, we're always a little musty. We're a little musty on Monday.
Speak for yourself.
Harrison's hair is definitely musty.
Yeah.
No, actually, my hair has not been washed for I think 2 days.
Is that due to quarantine or is that just a life choice?
No.
No, I definitely could have washed it.
I know we've reached the point of quarantine where you can brag about how little you've showered, and people are like, "Oh wow, 2 days, that's pretty awesome."
Yeah, but nobody judges you now, right?
That's what I mean.
Hey, man,
That's
I
what I mean.
understand. Yeah.
Totally.
I judge everybody that hasn't showered, like, still on a schedule. That's the one thing you got to keep doing that, and brushing your teeth. Don't get too gross. Here, I have one for you, Vote. I have one. Oh man, I just lost it again. Oh, the foreign authorities put Dorothy in an orange forest.
The foreign authorities put Dorothy in an orange forest.
How great is that? You already feel like you're loosened up.
I feel, yeah. Let's do 20 minutes on LeBron versus MJ right now.
Now I'm ready.
Yep.
Last one, Harrison. This one's for you to get a little loose. A skunk sat on a stump. The skunk thought the stump stunk. Damn it.
A skunk sat on a stump. The skunk thought the stump skunk.
Almost so close.
Oh,
so close.
Stunk.
There you go.
Or sunk. If you want to do it.
Perfect.
That was a long one.
Today's show, we've welcomed in Patrick, as we always do, for two reasons, actually, this week. One is just coincidental, but Patrick is a very big MJ aficionado and historian. I'll go ahead and give you that label. So MJ Mondays here as we talk about the Last Dance. Patrick, also an enormous Star Wars fan. As big a Star Wars fan.
I am everything wrong with America.
I bet he likes. Do you like Coca-Cola and McDonald's as well?
You know what? I was born in the Carolinas. I was raised a Pepsi guy.
Did you guys know this is a thing? That Carolina is a Pepsi state?
What does that
Well,
mean?
they invented Pepsi. So Atlanta invented Coca-Cola. To be honest with you, most people still drink Coke. It's kind of funny.
I mean, Coke is just categorically better. It's not.
Well, my dad's law firm represented the Pepsi plant in town where I grew up, and all of their secretaries drank Cokes. And one day their big client came in and threw a fit, like was throwing like things, like was furious, right? So they got all of the secretaries these big Coke holders or these big Pepsi, holder, like Huggies, and then they all just put their Cokes in there. And every time he would come in, they'd be like, and he was like, "That's what I'm talking about." You drink what you got to, you do what you got to do.
Yeah, like we at DNVR would never eat illegal or never eat Chipotle. Never. We always
Is it illegal to eat Chipotle?
It is illegal.
Good God.
So this was a really I can't even I'm reading the comments as they come in. South Carolina had a Pepsi cannery. Oh, okay, where they canned them. Gotcha. Right, good little detail. We're learning a lot about
rich
Pepsi
history, really rich culture.
Every day, baby.
Carolinas.
Moving quickly off of Pepsi and back to Michael Jordan.
There was more there than I thought, though.
There was more there.
Pepsi and Michael Jordan both came from the Carolinas.
So dumb. This is clearly a Monday show. I thought this last episode was the most content-rich episode of The Last Dance, in that I just have a lot of takes, or a lot of it's not even takes. I just have a lot of things that I feel really, really interested about. First, I guess the first question, Harrison, what did you think of this episode? Or these two episodes? Were they enjoyable? Were they new stuff? What's your broad strokes opinion of them?
I thought the gambling stuff was fascinating. Just like all the gambling stories, and of course leading up into the end of episode 6, where we get a good idea of why Jordan walked away from the first time.
Yes.
But just the gambling and just the competitiveness, the raw competitiveness that he had, just always continues to stick out. So I really enjoyed episode 6, and just because I feel like we're seeing Jordan continually just actually who he was, just like this freaking asshole who was so competitive on and off the court. He's playing that freaking quarters game where he's trying to get the quarter as close to the wall in his little office, which isn't even a part of the rest of the locker room.
And took that L.
What the heck kind of game is that? And
more like 6 for 7.
Yeah, just how competitive he was. Every facet of his life was so cool.
So they talk about, he has the famous line of about I don't have a gambling problem, and part of me thinks if you're gambling on quarters that you're tossing in the middle of a hallway, you have a gambling problem. That's
what he means by that, right? Is I don't have a problem with having enough money to gamble irresponsibly, right? That's really what he's talking about. He has if you have a competitive problem, you have a gambling problem, right?
That's what a gambling problem is.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. To me, when I watched that, it was like if every time you played a video game, Brendan, and you had to cough up, you had to put money on the line to play it, and you lost it and you didn't care, but you just kept playing. That to me is what MJ's gambling is. I couldn't care less. He just enjoys gambling. It's like people who play online poker with money that just are numbers.
I think he can afford to
That's
have the problem, but the problem, yeah, maybe. I mean, it might not be a healthy psychological place to live in, but
I don't think it's any different than
Mike's already deep in that hole.
We were going to argue about literally everything on this, because there's a lot of things that I think are different. And I'm with you, Eric. Yeah, he can afford to gamble and never run out of money. That's a fact.
It's just like a number that changes.
But here's what here's the thing is, I felt like these two episodes maybe more so than any other, both turned a critical eye on MJ, but also in a way that he could control. And nothing is more telling than the repackaging of his gambling addiction, which is exactly what it was, as a competitive problem. It's one of those things where it's like, my problem is I care too much. And it's like, yes, you're repackaging an actual flaw in you that maybe you can handle and manage, but let's not repackage this as like, I am just so driven.
Don't you think if you were the king, if you were the absolute king of finding a way, right, to win, and regardless of your drive or your work ethic, if you happen to be 6'6" with baseball mitt hands and throughout your life, mostly when you've wanted to do something, you've been able to do it.
Yeah.
Don't you feel like at that point, you probably do think, I just need one more hand? Like, don't you think that feeds into even worse? Like, I can definitely win. What are the odds that I won't win?
If I play it, I'm Michael Jordan. If I keep playing, I win.
Yeah. To me, it's like when you bring money into it, what it does is it gets other people up to the level of your competitor. Because if they lose, it hurts them.
Yeah.
But if you win, it doesn't do anything for you. It's like he just needs other people to, you know what I mean? Like he's not winning or losing money in a way that affects his life in any way, shape, or form.
But you could argue
other people. It gets the other side to rise up to the level of competitiveness.
Sure, yeah.
You could also argue that
if they lose,
he's hurt worse than they are financially, psychologically when he loses. When he lost to that dude in quarters, and he was like, "I give you 4 tries," and he got it on the first one. He's like, "Y'all get the hell out of here!" Like,
he rolled. He wasn't stoked for him.
Yeah, did not want to hang out with his friends anymore. Like those are his friends. He's like, "Get the hell out!"
But I think that you just looking at MJ now, and part of it is like both fun, but also I'm telling you, there's a weird feeling watching MJ with these eyes and like just looking unhealthy and all this stuff and thinking like he's chasing the dragon still, and it really is, and that's why I call it an addiction, because it really does feel like he's chasing the dragon. It's just like I have to get another hit of this, and all I have is my security guard, but I'm gonna throw quarters against the wall to get a little hit of it. And
was it episode 6 where he like said that explicitly, where he's like, or someone else said it about him, he just wanted to have your dollar in his pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
And look, on the court that translates to probably the coolest career maybe in athletic history, right? But in life, isn't that a little like not cool?
I don't know.
Why, man? Why are you like that?
Because look at his where he's being interviewed. His life is incredible. He has everything he wants and more. And like,
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
He has everything we want. But I don't know that he has everything he wants.
I'm telling you, I have a lingering feeling watching MJ, and I love MJ. And this is not a critique of him, the basketball player, in any way, but I do have this look of him of like, what is he doing right now? He looks like he doesn't even have a grasp on it. Like he wants to get back to what he was, but there's no second act for him. That's
and
just
he wants your dollar more than the ones he already has.
Yeah,
and because it's yours. And like, how do you satisfy it?
And you're right, Eric, that he can afford it. This isn't a problem. I'm just talking about what part of the point of this documentary is for us all to sort of like recontextualize and analyze Jordan. And to me, this is part of it, is I'm looking at him and I'm going, yes, he does have this addiction. And sure, we can call it a competitive addiction or whatever, but it is the same thing. It's like he doesn't know where to put this energy. And so he puts it into throwing quarters against the wall. And
I really do think this is what made him the best during the course of and this is the price from that, right? Because I agree with Adam. I always thought this was going to be the case with Kobe. And this is part of what makes the death was always going to be really sad. But the loss of Kobe, what made it so tragic to me is like somehow he ended up going this other route and finding this second act that seemed like it was going to be all about inspiration and everything else. Now, Michael Jordan inspires me because anybody that gives to their craft that much, right, and ends up hitting that level, that playing field, and anything that I enjoy watching or studying is incredible. But also, I don't think Jordan. I think he enjoyed the fact that he, inspired people, but I don't think he was ever setting out to do that. He just wanted to prove himself all the time. I think Kobe found like a second niche where he was going to go on, right, for like the second half of his life. And I think Mike has never found that and is never going to. And I love him, but I just don't.
You know where that comes from, though, is that Kobe Bryant hit the absolute rock bottom where he was. He became not only a villain, he became a criminal. And he had to completely reevaluate everything in his life. And like he then had a wife that he cheated on a lot, that then suddenly became like the source of his inspiration. His daughters came into his life, and he sort of had to realize that everything he had done was not only leading him to a path of being like not inspirational, but like literally a scummy human being. And so he, like, Michael Jordan's just always been Michael Jordan. Like he just is a competitive guy. He's good at everything. Like there's a million athletes that are the same way, but Michael Jordan doesn't have any other flaws that we can pick out on. Like Charles Barkley is a noted gambler. Like there's a million guys that are like super into gambling because it scratches that itch for them.
It's just, but we don't talk about Barkley having. We don't
because we don't have anything
virtue.
Else.
That's the only thing I'm saying is.
But there's because we want Jordan to be a certain thing.
But I'm telling you, there's so many things with Jordan that we repackage into virtues when it's like. Maybe he's just really freaking great at basketball. Like maybe that's what it is.
One
of
the biggest
things about him are not great qualities. It's just he's really good.
And one of the biggest keys to Kobe turning his image around was rebuilding those other parts of him, right? Like moving closer to a holistic human being.
Because he had to.
I understand what you're saying, but then also like, isn't that what we loved about him towards the end? Whereas like with MJ, we all love MJ, but there's not stuff about MJ today we love. We love the icon and the figure, right?
Yeah. But MJ has never crashed. That's the thing. He's just always been the same.
I don't think Kobe turned that full leaf until even later in his career.
Yeah,
I don't think until the last 2 or 3 years. I don't think it was. I agree that impacted him and the criminal stuff and everything else. But he stayed the asshole that was going to kill everybody to win all the way up until he wasn't going to win anymore. And then at that point, everybody talked about that dinner he had with Jordan where he was like, he left it saying, I'll be damned if that's going to be me. And Michael had always been his idol. And I think sitting there, I can only imagine what they talked about, but I have thought about it a lot. I can only imagine Michael sitting down and giving the least amount of comfort imaginable. Be like, you're cursed. Yeah, you're just like me, man. We're cursed now. Like
it'll itch till you die.
Instead of changing, Jordan just walked away. It was like, I'm not going to change for you. I'm not going to change for the league. I'm not going to change for David Stern.
And I'm just trying to say there's a real like sort of Wild Strawberries feel to this whole like documentary. This is a reference only Patrick's going to catch, but this is the movie Wild Strawberry, a very famous Ingmar Bergman movie where a guy, great, very well respected, everything else is sort of going to receive an honor, and he's reliving his life, and he just feels very, very hollow and empty. While everybody else is assigning these like great things to him, almost a Citizen Kane feeling.
I was going to say you should have said Citizen Kane.
Oh, Citizen Kane sure could be. But it feels, and that's all I'm saying is that with MJ, it just. This isn't even a knock on him. It's more about what am I taking from it, and that's one of the things I'm taking from it. Is I'm like, man, he really does seem like he doesn't have anywhere to put everything that made him who he is now.
Dude, don't you think him being so great, like I'm going to say the greatest, and him being the coolest is probably why he didn't self-analyze. 100%. If everything's going great, you do rarely sit back and go, well, I think I should maybe reevaluate all of this. Like Kobe's chasing this legend. And of course he's going to be thinking about it. Jordan's just going out and he's like, well, tonight I'm going to kick this guy's ass. Tomorrow night I'm going to kick. And he was able to do it. Like, I don't think he ever self-evaluated anything. Like, I just think he went out and kicked everybody's ass. Like that, he was great, but that's what comes with it. So.
And it's not all to dunk on him either, right? I mean, I don't know. There's something very poignant. I don't remember, it was the end of episode 6 or 7 where he speaks about why he's thinking about hanging it up and essentially saying like, if not explicitly, I don't want to be anything for you people, you know, like, and if you're not buying it, maybe buy something, what someone else is selling. Like maybe I'm not the guy you should be following. Yeah. And you know, we don't have to revere him, but man, is he also entitled to that as an individual, I think. And so I did think that sort of the way they juxtapose those things was really, I thought, poignant in this episode.
I really enjoyed, obviously, the Kobe parts early on. Before the series began, we got the report that, like, oh, man, the Kobe parts are really going to be a punch to the gut. And I don't know how you felt about this, Eric, but I didn't necessarily feel like a punch to the gut on the Kobe part. I kind of enjoyed them. I thought they were actually like a very positive moment.
Yeah. We're you know, every time Kobe is mentioned, like we have to have another funeral for him on Twitter. So like anytime there's like it has to be like sad, but it wasn't sad.
It wasn't sad. Yeah.
It was like, okay, cool. Like it is really interesting to see not only what MJ's legacy was just to the league, but also like the direct impact he had on players that will say as much. Like, I learned from him. I asked him what to do. That's the thing about Jordan is he started from scratch. Like he, in a sense, like he just kind of was who he was. There weren't a lot of players, at least notably, that played the way he did. And now there's a lot of people that have been cast in his mold. And so, I didn't find it sad at all. I just thought it was
the toughest part about it was just, I don't know, for me, just seeing Kobe's image talking. I mean, that's the gut punch for me, just seeing him. But he was involved in one of the coolest scenes of the whole episode, I thought, before the 98 All-Star game. Like, that locker room footage was incredible.
Oh, that Laker boy going to go one-on-one.
Watch out for that young Laker kid. That was incredible.
Yeah.
And Jordan was, like, feeding into it, too. He was like, he's going to go one-on-one. It was just, like, awesome.
I loved when he said, "I would never pass that boy the ball."
Oh, he's dead serious too.
Jordan is just so effortlessly cool. I mean, that's the thing about him. Like, even in that locker room, every other player in the locker room seems like just a guy. And we're talking about like Hall of Famers, but is this Jordan smiling and talking and everybody kind of being like,
everybody's a little excited, a little scared that he'll come after you, but also revering him.
Reggie Miller was quiet, which I don't think I've ever seen before in my life.
Yeah, you know what I actually took away from this last set of episodes is like I started to feel the weight of the Jordan world. Like it's just like so much of just everything going on, like this happening, this person's talking to him, he's got to be here. Like after he wins, he asks if he can have like 2 minutes to himself to just be by, and like I felt the weight of just like, oh man, there's just like a lot.
That's just good documentary filmmaking, right? Because I mean, this is the episode we were supposed to get to that. That's how everyone came away feeling. Like you're right, all the weight came down in this one. We've established all the characters, right, and we're jumping back and forth. But now it's really, I mean, from here on out, you would think structurally, right, we're going to get the taken off for baseball 7, 8 you're going to get the comeback with 96, 9 you're going to get the 97 run, right? And then the last one, the 10th presumably will just be that final series, I'm assuming. So the structure is really kind of fully fleshed out now.
Yeah. Let's take a quick break. Harrison, are you ready to pull these up? When we get back on the other side though, there's a lot we're kind of almost behind schedule, but there was just so much in this one that I want to get to all of it.
Yeah, guys. So first we got Breck Brewery, the official beer of DNVR.
That's
They're still open, of course, so you guys can get takeout, you can get delivery. If you're looking to switch it up from a home-cooked meal, which I'm sure a lot of us are doing these days, you can call up the Farmhouse at 303-803-1380. They are available for delivery 12 to 8. You can also
How many times have you guys gotten delivery from the Farmhouse? 3 times? Barbecue every time? Always the barbecue?
Always.
Barbecue, the wings are incredible. They got good salads, too.
What's Carolina-style barbecue? What does it mean, Patrick?
Mustard-based.
Yeah, Western North Carolina is mustard, but Eastern is like a vinegar base. It's got like a vinegar rub, so it gives a little bit of a tang.
It's great. It's like sugar and
really good. It's really good.
Yeah, so you can get food and beers delivered as well. We also got to talk about something that I'm very excited to talk about, guys. We had our first DNVR golf tournament this weekend on
What are we talking about this for?
Yours truly.
Quickly through this.
Snack. I'll be right back.
Okay,
I don't think we've decided a winner yet, but if you guys look on the WGT leaderboard on the app, there's a 1 next to my name.
Unbelievable.
Can we be honest, man? That WGT golf game is so much fun.
It really is.
It's good.
I have not played video games in years, and I'm addicted to this stupid one. But I'm getting really good at it. I'm going to beat Harrison by the end of, let me think.
Yeah, if you guys want to get involved in the tournaments, dnvrgolf.com, that's where you can download the app from. And then just search for the DNVR Country Club, and then you'll be in. We'll be doing a lot more tournaments as well, so you can try to beat me in future weekends.
Dude, I'm going to do it. I'm determined to chase you down now.
I know it. I know. But chase down.
Do we have a read where I can talk about my FIFA championship?
No.
I don't do that one.
Another interesting thing about this episode. So the Nike execs, there's so much about MJ that's so fascinating. Not just him, but how his career unfolded. The whole story about Nike. First of all, I had no idea that Jordan was an Adidas guy. It's such an alternate. Did you know this detail, Patrick?
Yeah.
What an alternate universe out there where Adidas is like the cool company and Nike is just like,
it would never be cool.
So many things had to happen even with Nike though, right? I mean, it all had to come together exactly the way it did. But
what did they mean when they said Adidas was not in like a functional place? Like they couldn't get a shoe together for Michael Jordan? Like you can't figure that out.
I think they couldn't produce at the level as quickly, right? Like they weren't ready to go. They weren't ready to hit the ground running. And like for Nike who literally started as the running shoe, right? Where I don't know if you guys have ever looked into like Prefontaine at all, but the coach at Oregon that used to take the waffle irons and make the bottoms of the shoes that would literally fall apart by the end of the race. You think about that being, I know every company starts humbly, but like that being the beginning, and then like we bet on Michael Jordan, and now we're Nike, and it's just like the ultimate brand as far as shoes go. So
good bet. That was a good bet.
Yeah, it worked out.
Eric, who needed who more? Michael needed Nike, or Nike needed Michael? I mean, I think
Nike needed Michael. Absolutely. I mean, it seemed. I mean, the way things play out, it seems like unthinkable now that Nike wouldn't be Nike, but Nike wouldn't be Nike. That Adidas would be Nike. It's like
maybe.
No, it was a perfect marriage, though. Nike saying when these shoes were the NBA's like, no, you can't wear them. Them being like, wear them every game. We're paying the fine. You're going to market your shoe as the illegal shoe. That the league can't I mean, are you kidding me? That's like putting a book on like the, you can't read it list. You know what I mean? Like anytime you're giving bad press and stuff, it's like, well, everyone's going to see this.
And it's to market to a more diverse community, to get into the urban culture through Spike. I mean, that's really progressive stuff, man. And I don't know if this is Jordan Team's idea or not, but the idea to be updating the shoe, which at the time was innovative, and not just have these same two designs.
Right.
Well, the times, there was a different shoe to match the times, and that's still the case to this day. So obviously they needed Jordan, but almost a little Jerry Krause dynamic there with Nike as well.
No, I mean Nike almost lost Jordan. He really didn't like the second edition of the shoe.
Jordan 2 suck.
The Jordan 2s, they kind of suck.
And he almost walked. Is that the case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know that was like a player model shoe a really foreign thing before the Jordan 1s? Because I was thinking of that Converse episode or commercial they showed where they're all holding the same exact shoe.
Mm-hmm.
So
there weren't any individual. It was a team sport, and that's why Nike said you got to treat this like tennis. They had the tennis stars. They said this is an individual we can market around.
This is what's so fascinating. This is what's so fascinating about it is that they're literally talking about the blueprint for how basketball is discussed now. They're like, yes, it's a team sport and everybody talks about it, but we need to turn it into an individual sport for marketing purposes. They're laying it all out there.
And that marketing tied into Jordan's influence on the league, which literally influenced play styles and stardom for generations to come.
Ripple effects from the way these dudes are talking back in 1984 about what we're going to turn basketball into. They don't realize that's what they're talking about, but it is. We're going to turn basketball into the hero's journey. And every year we're going to find a new hero.
Jordan also having the agent to go into Nike and essentially demand what he demanded and make it happen. I mean, like, again, there's just so many things had to break. It's like Jordan's whole career. As incredible as he was, you can picture Jordan being just as great as he is, whether you think he's the best, second best, whatever, but winning 3 titles, or winning. Like, I don't think many people could imagine him going winless for a career, but like you can imagine it going different. And we talked about this, a couple weeks ago where his story is just, the layout of it is incredible. Like, it's just, I don't know how that happens, where you lose, and then you learn to win, and then you just win, the rest of the way through.
Another little detail in here that I loved, Jerry Krause, they show the 92, I think at this point, finals, drenched in champagne, and Jerry Krause make sure to say, it's organizations. Like, it's a fantastic organization.
Incredible celebration. They just came back from 20 down.
He's like looking for Jordan out of the side of his eye while he's talking. He's like,
Jordan was probably like watching the real copy of this thing. Was like, put that in. Make sure that's it.
Every week they
find new ways to like just make fun of the deceased, the late Jerry Krause.
They cut immediately to him asking Michael Jordan for a victory cigar, where Michael says you can't have it. It will stunt your growth, right? You notice, like, they're always putting the terrible Krause moment right before Michael ribs him. So, like, because the ribs are bad,
to
it's
make
like,
it seem like it was,
Oh,
Jerry was an asshole.
Better about it. You're like,
that Michael is being a dick to him.
Right. No, it was solicited. Yeah. I don't think so.
How Krause really liked Dan Marley, so they made sure to like shut down Jordan made sure to shut down Dan Marley in the playoffs.
This seems like a Jordan's memory thing. Someone tweeted it, like he probably mentioned him one fucking time.
Yeah.
He just, and that
also,
was it for
probably
Jordan.
would have shut down Marley either way. Like,
Yeah.
all right, you're probably better than Marley, but
yeah.
Jerry Krause seemed to love everybody that wasn't on his team, though. I mean, I know we're saying like he's being painted the villain, but like, has there ever been somebody who was more interested in all the guys who aren't winning while your team's winning?
Yeah.
And the guys who are currently kicking everyone's ass.
It is really crazy. Like, it is like he's always looking for some reason that it's not the players on the court.
Yeah,
there's like
no one would have gone that far to Tony Kukoc in a war-torn country at that time if they were kicking everyone's ass.
There's so much interest. We got to keep moving because I want to get to that part. Okay. We're now at the Dream Team, which that was the one segment I did not necessarily enjoy of this, and only because I've heard all these stories and I've heard them told the exact same way. It's like, part of me is I've heard Magic Johnson tell the exact same story. Like
I can listen to it like 24 hours a day, though.
Really?
I can listen to Magic tell a story like that, man. He's an incredible storyteller.
Of all the things that I think history has, like when we're talking about Jordan and these stories, the Dream Team to me, and this is going to be, people are going to be so mad about this. The Dream Team to me is the one that is the most overrated in terms of like their actual, not in their impact. The impact was immense. It was huge. But first of all, Larry Bird couldn't even play. He couldn't even practice. He wasn't even in that greatest game I ever played. He was sitting on the sideline watching. Magic Johnson was out the league 4 months later. Chris Mullins, come on, man. Like, half of these guys, great player, but when people talk about this like, the greatest game that was ever played, the greatest collection of talent, I'm like, man, half those dudes weren't even playing. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was
You've talked about this before, Adam, but they were perfectly constructed as far as getting everyone at their peak. I think we imagine them all at their peak.
100%.
In which case, I would say, yeah, without a doubt. I just think there's nothing to exploit there. They're good at every position twofold, and they're great. And
Larry Bird immediately retired after this.
Right, but some guys were not good at that point, or they were shells of themselves.
The Legend's probably like born from their interpretation of this, right? Like the closest they get to that is the All-Star game, in which even back then, for all the glorification, it is still an exhibition match, and it's not like people are playing with pride on the line. And I think the best players in the world all want to know, like, what would it really look like if it was just us in a room with pride on the line? So that dynamic manifested, and I actually think they probably lost all objectivity on how good the game itself was.
100%.
Right? But that's still like a really cool athlete story. Like, I was in that room, you know?
And also remember that we're coming out of, like, we actually did lose the Olympics, right? We lost to Russia at a time where it was, or the USSR at a time where that was really painful, and that was really the two superpowers. So you're coming out of that and you're like, well, we're going to bring our stars. And the world's also so far behind. The impact of watching people just completely dominate as if they're playing, you know, little kids, that stays with you, I think, longer than any piece of the game, right? Like now the world's closer. So even if you get a team as good, it's not going to be utter dominance in the same way. Right. And you won't remember it as, oh, they were unbeatable, you know?
Well, that was the bigger message they were sending to the world, because like they were beating up on a bunch of teams that would lose to decent college teams today. But it was like
get your autograph afterwards.
Yeah. It was the whole Cold War thing, and like, it was like, oh, the U.S. is, you know, we're unbeatable on the basketball court. So like, it was the bigger message there.
Dude,
the impact is huge. I'm not trying to understate the impact. I'm just trying to. We talk about like, oh, this team was incredible. It's like, all right, there's a handful of players on there that were either.
Well, they were incredible. You're arguing whether or not they were the greatest team of all time, right? It's like, I'd take a team with you're talking about Michael, Pippen, Charles Barkley. Like, all right, give me those three.
David Robinson,
pretty good squad.
Again, really, really good. Did you have another point there, Vote? You wanted another thread?
I just wanted to jump at the Kukoc thing, man. I really did.
Let's get to it, because that's another fascinating. Kukoc is an interesting case study in this. Was he presented positively, do you think, Vote?
I think he came off great. I think he
did.
And also, can you imagine he's like, wow, I can't wait to meet my new friends, Michael and Scotty. They just beat the hell out of him. It's like, he doesn't know why it's happening.
Again, there is another like really funny story here, in that you've got Michael and Scotty, famous, powerful, talented, everything else. And you got Tony Kukoc, who's overcome a civil war and like all of this. And it's like, I'm going to meet my heroes. And they're just like, I hate your guts for something you don't even understand.
Yeah.
They were putting this on Twitter. I saw Bomani talking about it. Pippen, in that one shot they have early on, is wearing fake Jordans, Jordan knockoffs. How great is this? This is fantastic.
Wait, what?
When they show him and he's in the full Jordan jumpsuit, Bomani was saying this was a knockoff Jordan outfit, like not a real Jordan outfit.
Like Jordan couldn't get him hooked up, like what? Or he's not allowed to wear it? Or,
or wouldn't.
Yeah.
I also really love just the story of him getting completely dominated, caught off guard, and then bouncing back and fighting back, and them kind of being like, hey, you know,
he comes off so sympathetically. It's like, this is just a kid who happens to be really good, and unfortunately, the general manager of another group likes him. So these are the most hyper-competitive person ever, and the guy who thinks he's being mistreated so they can usher this guy in are now going to just come after you every single play.
And it did seem like it was more of a Scotty thing almost too, right? Because he had the contract situation. It sounded like the way they described it. It's the Jordan doc, but it sounded like Scotty dominated that game.
Yeah, because they weren't paying Scotty and they were getting ready to pay Tony.
I like that. I like that it was finally Scotty who was actually kind of being a dick. Like, he went into the press, like after they kicked Tony Kukoc's ass, he goes to the press and he's like, I mean, if he's that soft, he's never going to make it in the NBA. Michael, at least after he kicked his ass right in the interview, is like, you know, he's a young kid. It's one game. You shouldn't judge him. He wanted to murder him, but then he kind of did the whole, all right, I've been here before. Let me see how I can gloss over this. Scotty's just like, what a loser.
Yeah. It's because Jordan is too good, man. I'm telling you, he just knows exactly like, oh, I'm in front of the cameras. I need to throw the guy a little bone. Because he just knew when to be the killer, when to be the marketing face and everything. And it's just the way
he was probably great to hang out with after he kicked your ass. But if you beat him, he was probably the worst guy ever to be around.
What do you think, Eric? Is MJ great to hang out with in this time? Like, if you're in the plane with him, are you in the back gambling and stuff with him? Are you in the front with
No,
Will
I mean, this is like cool guy, you know, like hanging out with the cool guys. You don't really feel like you're with it. You're like, you're afraid you're going to say the wrong thing. They clown on you the whole time. Like,
the pretty girl.
You're never quite comfortable. Yeah, like, no.
Admire her from afar.
You could just see, like, on the face of all of his teammates when he'd be like, hey, cheese it, or whatever.
Everybody like, oh, shit, he's here.
And they're all like, oh,
Mark talked about this after after the episodes the other night. Barkley talked about this on ESPN. When Jordan would beat you, he would never let you hear the end of it. He would just hound you for weeks and months and years.
Again, not a good hang. Like, it's awesome.
And then there was that other scene where Jordan goes into the locker room after one game or the series against the Knicks, or no, Ewing goes into the Bulls locker room, and Ewing's like, that was a great series, man. And Jordan was like, we kicked the shit out of you. What are you talking about?
I think we can all agree any relationship that fell apart with Jordan was probably Jordan's fault. Right. Like, everybody had to deal with more from him, and he probably won 95% of the time. And the other 5%, if you beat him, I'm sure he just never wanted to be your friend again.
This brings me to my next point. What's the difference between the Knicks and the Pistons? Because Jordan seems to like the Knicks and is over it. The Knicks, this is a relationship. The Pistons is not.
I keep thinking he could beat the Knicks. He knew
exactly. This
Knicks.
Is what I was going to say. Look, the Pistons. I'm not trying to stand for the Pistons. Like, I hate the bad boys. I think they were whatever. But I do think there's something to Jordan in that they were the one team that got him. And like John Sally finally now is saying Jordan's the best, but 5, 6, 7. Whenever he was hosting, remember that show, the Best Damn Sports Show, period, whatever. He would clown MJ all the time. He would never say it. And I think there was a thing with MJ where it's like, F those guys, because they're the one guys that can look down on me a little bit.
But also, man, I don't know. It's cool that he says it now, but also, if he couldn't beat me until the full squad was assembled with Phil and everyone, I would feel that way too. I would be like, 100%. That's the guy. That's the guy.
And that's why, but I'm saying this is why I think Jordan, and by extension the entire world, has like looked at the bad boys this way, as of like, there's just this negative connotation. And look, a lot of it is brought on. They brought that on themselves or whatever. But I'm just saying the Knicks did the same stuff. Knicks weren't even that good. This is another hot take I'm going to throw out there. John Starks, their second best player.
Those Knicks teams were
the Knicks were trying to be the Pistons. But you know what? One big difference is, honestly, I don't know if this made any difference. Oakley was their enforcer, and Oakley was Jordan's protector. Lambeer wanted to break Jordan's leg. Right? So, the difference in that, even if two teams are being rough, is like, Oakley's not going to hurt me, right? He's going to send message. He might hurt Pippen.
It also seems like, whether it's to be believed or not, I mean, just the when the competition was over and there was no handshake given from the Pistons, that like really made It was for Jordan. It was like, oh, okay, I guess this was real then. All right,
Maybe,
if it's real, then it's real.
maybe. That's
I
the
think that
story he
bothers
gets
Jordan
to
to this
tell.
day. I agree. I think
that's
that
the story he gets to tell. For sure.
Jordan's just got to get over that, man.
Yeah.
But it's like
Get over it.
If you're that hyper competitive and you bit your lip and like went and shook their hands though 3 years in a row while they were trying to hurt
That's
you,
what I mean.
you don't think you'd still have it? Like I'd still have
But
that.
maybe
and I'm not
20
that
years
competitive.
later. But
No,
I
I
do.
think I'd still have it.
Another great story again, and then we're going to start bringing some people in to talk about this. But
There's so much good stuff out of
I know there's so much good stuff. That's why we're not doing any other segments but the steps at the end. I see Hamburger. I see you waiting. You're going to be on here in a second. Cigarettes and drinking beer at halftime. So MJ, it's funny because what's the statute of limitations on secrets? Because MJ is like clearly believes it's 30 years because he is ready to just talk about everybody cheating, everybody doing drugs.
Dude, it
Booger
clearly was
sugar.
back then.
A lot of booger sugar.
He was like a narc, like by accident. Everyone's like, dude, cool it. We can get in trouble. You can't. We can. Stop it.
It's actually really hilarious to see them like freaking out about like, don't show us drinking beer. And he's like, no, show. Like there's an argument about whether or not they should be viewed drinking a beer. You think about how weird 92 was compared to now. But no, there really is him telling the story about how when he came into the league, first of all, they were doing cocaine and all this stuff or whatever on the previous episode. And then this time talking about how when I first came into the league, they were smoking cigarettes and drinking beer at halftime. It really does give you this perspective of like, man, come on, what was the league then? Like, people don't talk candidly about the NBA in 1980s. We know there was cocaine problems because people were dying. It was mostly 70s, but even early 80s. But the cigarettes thing, I thought that was more of a Bill Walton era of basketball. I did not think that was a golden era 1980s thing. This is surprising to me.
Think about two things. One, obviously, if people are smoking cigarettes at halftime, Michael Jordan's really going to kick the crap out of everybody if they're like drinking. And so he's already going to beat like the best athletes in the world. Yeah. So that's one side of the argument where you're like, well, of course Michael dominated. I mean, these guys didn't even take conditioning seriously. The other side of it though is, what if Michael wasn't smoking 3 cigars a day and drinking and eating a Big Mac on the way to the? Can you imagine if like they conditioned his body was perfect, but what if he had a chef and he took care of his body and didn't even take in any sugar, much less like beers?
Could he have been more athletic?
I guess probably not.
Come on,
he might have lasted longer. I just wonder. I guess he never broke down either. But maybe we're seeing that with LeBron now, though. That's what I'm saying. What if LeBron plays to 45? And maybe Jordan could have done that. I guess that's my argument. Like,
but Jordan didn't quit because he didn't quit because he was out of shape.
Let's talk about quitting here on the next segment. We'll do. Actually, first I'm going to bring on the Hamburglar.
Oh baby!
Hey, what's up, boys?
What's up, brother?
Hey.
Look at that.
Oh,
nice. Wow, you are so.
I'm good, guys. Good to hear.
Checks in the mail, dude.
Your DNVR more hard than all.
We got to get the
DNVRing harder. Look at the mic.
Yeah, you know. Well, I don't have much else to do but prepare my setup. I do have a mic. Yeah, isn't that nice? Yeah.
Well, if you want,
background.
It's time for Harrison to do another read, and you can now help us interrupt him.
Yeah, go for it, man.
So, Harrison, you do it.
I like how you bring him on right before I'm going to do a read.
It's what I've always wanted to do.
That's why Adam is definitely the Jordan of this podcast.
No doubt.
We've got
I got a little Jordan.
Mountain Dental in Lakewood. Green Mountain Dental in Green Mountain. You don't want to drink a strawberry sky before going there.
Nice.
I went to the dentist today. I've only been out of my house like 4 times, and one of them was to go to the dentist today. How terrible is that?
Good story, Adam. Great podcast.
I didn't know you were allowed to go to the dentist right now.
Yeah, I guess select dentists are open. If you guys schedule a cleaning, X-ray, and exam at Green Mountain Dental Group, they'll hook it up with a free Sonicare toothbrush.
It'll change your life. It'll change your life forever.
Do you remember when Harrison would ask us every time he did this read, do you guys like electric toothbrush?
That was like the first 2 times, man.
First 2 months.
Listen, I'm with Harrison. How else do you introduce? I'm with Harrison here.
It's Harrison. You're doing a great job. Reading these things off while 3 other people or 4 or 5 are kind of like jostling back and forth and making that's difficult. That's
a delay too.
I've had like 6 months practice. So.
We don't know how the sponsors feel about it yet.
Are you done now? Are we good?
Green Mountain Dental Group.
Green Mountain Dental. Free Sonicare.
Change your life.
We've also got Strava Craft Coffee. Do you guys did you hear about that huge giveaway that they were doing? They're not doing it anymore, but they were doing it. Hopefully you guys got in on it.
Thanks.
What was it?
Great information.
They were giving away $1,000 gift card. Strava Craft Coffee online.
I need that.
Wow.
You know what is on its way to my house right now? Chocolate craft coffee.
Oh, same with me actually. Lindsay hooked it up.
Lindsay hooked it up, man. Yeah.
Can't wait. All right, Hamburglar. Best handle, by the way, in all of Twitter. I have to say the Hamburglar. So, what are you enjoying? Are you watching The Last Dance? Oh, this connection is terrible. Are you not able to hear Hamburger?
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh no, that's real
delayed. Oh no,
I have been. Yeah, what's really interesting for me actually, I have an aunt and uncle who are from the Detroit area. Oh yeah, it's really bad. Oh, I can kind of hear you guys.
Oh, I think he's on like a good solid 30-second delay.
Yeah. No.
I want his take though. He's got family from Detroit. This is gonna be great.
He's ready to. He's so primed to kill it.
Hamburglar. He was waiting for so long.
That was gonna be gold.
That was going to be gold. The segment I want to talk about, though, Hamburger, try to fix your internet, plug into something. The segment I want to talk about here is the fame part, because it's never really discussed with MJ this way. Like, he just seemed to navigate it so well. And maybe you knew this better than I did, Patrick, but I think coming out of this last week's episodes, I feel like I understand why he walked away from the game. I never understood it. I think
turns out it's terrible for everybody to be stuck in your hotel room all the time when you're not playing.
Sitting there smoking a cigar and talking about this isn't a life you envy where I can't leave my hotel room. Like, that's the first time I've ever heard MJ in that.
Let me turn this around, because I know that there's more, it's more invasive now, right? Like Twitter, you can't get away from it now. But do you guys think, because I always thought, oh God, what would Michael do today? Like, he'd be exposed immediately. Do you think any one player is followed the way Jordan is though? Like, I feel like no one else was followed then, and it was just him. So he got all the attention. And he must have looked around and seen other stars even in the NBA and be like, they're fine. Now it's almost like there's this camaraderie, I feel like, among the NBA, because we love stars now. We got a bunch of NBA stars. Like, it's a great time in the league now. And it used to really be the Jordan show for like 6, 7, 8 years, where it was like Michael Jordan and company.
Yeah.
There's something to that, I think. Yeah.
There's definitely something to it. You know what's funny? This year at Media Day, I asked all the Nuggets players about fame, and I was very careful about the question because I didn't want to phrase my question in a way that led to a positive or negative connotation of fame. I just asked them about fame. And I was so interested because I was expecting a lot of them to talk about the burden of it, but none of them did. They all interpreted my question as a positive. And like Will Barton, for example, said something like, I feel like that's just what we get for all the hard work we put in, or something like that. But my question was very deliberately about like trying to allow them to interpret it how it wanted. They all saw it as a positive. Now, the Denver Nuggets aren't very popular. They are like 1/1,000,000th of a Michael Jordan. So I found that really, really interesting, that because all these superstars do seem genuinely unhappy with their fame.
Well, I think the other part of this is, like Michael's dad comes out, right? And he says, he's done everything you guys have asked him to do, yada, yada, yada. Adam, you've talked about this. The media is not your PR person, but with Jordan, it kind of was. Like, they asked him to be the face of the league. They painted him as this image that we all believed in, right? This full myth. 100%. Told him, you're going to inspire kids. You've got to be perfect. I feel like he followed the rules. He crossed every T, dotted every I. And then in his free time, he was like, guess what? I'm going to gamble $1 million on this golf hole. And I think the minute that got uncovered and turned around on him, he was like, wait a minute. I've been, in a way, faking this, or at least exaggerating it, to be able to market the league, make more money, get everyone inspired, be this figure. And now the same people who have been a part of that machine have undercut it. I think that's a big difference too, right? Like, now no one's really got this force behind them, and then it turns on them. Now it's this big ocean you got to navigate.
This is Kevin Durant.
I don't think pre-Jordan stars in sports were like covered for what they did off the court, really.
Yeah.
Like nobody really covered those guys, what they did outside the lines.
Unless you hopped in a white Bronco and just floored it.
Yeah. But nobody's talking about
no, you're right.
Nobody's talking about really what Larry Bird did on the weekends,
Right.
Like that really started with Jordan, and that was like him going to Atlantic City felt like the first real like entertainment journalism type thing that like dominates the industry today. That was like the first one, it feels like.
But even the Sam Smith book causing that much tension is just so interesting to me. And again, one of the things that we contrast and compare these athletes to a lot is like, well, they didn't have to deal with social media. But I think the Sam Smith book causing as much friction as it did, to me, is proof of like, hey, man, Those guys did not have it like the guys have it today, in ways both positive and negative. But in this specific instance, it's certainly a negative because they were all insecure about the things that were said in that book.
Yeah, I felt bad for Horace Grant, man. I was like, this is.
Give us some backstory on Horace Grant, because the Bulls don't seem to like him. Jordan doesn't seem to like Horace Grant.
He and Pippen were really good.
Well, because they traded Oakley for him, probably.
Well, but Horace, remember, Michael never forgets anything, right? Horace leaves, beats the Bulls with the Magic, and he's up being held up, like Shaq's holding Horace up, and he's pumping his fist. Everybody always talks about he never forgot that stuff, right? Like B.J. Armstrong, this hasn't come up yet, maybe they'll cover it, but in 97 hit a big shot to beat the Bulls in game 1, or maybe it was 98, and he like showed him up on the court, like he ran up and down the Bulls court, and like Jordan's press conference after the series ended, like 3 or 4 wins later, he's like, I think BJ kind of forgot about us. He comes right back to it. And he's like, we just used his fire against him. And he's like, he's got to mention it. Hey, we got
Harper's.
Are you feeling better? Is your internet working now?
I think so. Pretty good. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Everything's better with the
audio quality, but then apparently that's what the internet's bad. So you got to pick.
Everything is better with the Hamburglar.
Oh,
Hamburglar. Do you want to be famous?
We can't offer you. We're just.
I was going to say, whoa. You guys got some.
It's a pretty heavy question for you.
And done.
No, I know that is crazy. No, I would rather be have all the benefits, mainly the money, without people being up in my business. I guess would be the main
not famous
thing I would enjoy. Yeah. I really.
You want to be. You want to be rich. Is what it
is. Right. The only thing with the fame that I think about is your ability to impact things. Like if you care about different social platforms, or if you're really interested, so you can bring a lot of attention and, like I said before, money.
Or you can choose not to.
You can choose not to, exactly. Which some people don't. Whatever.
Comment of the night. Heat it up. Hit it.
Let's move into that part, because there was the fame, but then there was also the controversy because Jordan wanted to be apolitical. Like, he just did not want to insert his hat into the ring when there was a perfect opportunity for him to be like. You don't want to get too political ourselves on this show, but there was a very, very clear there's an opportunity for you just to give a little speak up a little bit here at an instance that that's just teed up for you to do so, and he wanted no part of it. And I thought he was actually pretty candid in his comments now about it, and maybe even in a good way. Just talking about I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to.
I've always maintained that I think I would have respected him more if he had done it, but I don't think it's ever wrong. I think everyone should have the choice to not do that. Yeah. So I've always defended that in that way. This was a very bad. It couldn't have been a worse. I feel like two people against each other for him to not get it.
This is good and evil. It's not really even politics.
But that said, I've always said, you don't have to do it. If you do, I think more power to you. But I do defend that. And also the other thing he said was, I was ignorant at the time of that. All I wanted to do was basketball. I told my mom, I don't know what this guy stands for. Again, pretty clear cut which one's probably better. But I do also think if you don't know, maybe you don't. I don't know. What would you think if somebody came up and endorse this guy? You could try to do as much research as you can. But if it's I don't know anything about him.
I respect anyone saying I don't know. I don't know enough. Yeah. The only thing is this feels like a context in which
100%
instinctual.
And it's not just that about it. Here's the thing. Right, we talk a lot about player empowerment and players versus owners. 10 years ago, I was hook, line, and sinker on this. There's a lockout, and it's these owners are so greedy, this or that. What we've learned over the last decade, the players have taken power from the owners and managed to flex it, and then have just turned into owners. They've just turned into the exact thing that they rallied against. And it doesn't matter if it's Michael or LeBron or anybody in between. Once they get that power, they actually forget all these other
That's what we've learned. There's not one group that's good or bad. There's whoever was in power was bad.
With that, I always think about how CP3 and those guys are heads of the players union.
Yeah.
They're not they don't care about the Tory Craigs of the world. You know what I mean?
At all.
That's not what they're not who they're legislating for. So
they're on a yacht.
Banana boat crew.
Exactly.
LeBron is actually the Jerry Krause of his own story. He's both the Michael and the Krause. We're here just we got to get this guy out of here.
It's we're winning championships, but we could give Tristan Thompson so much more money.
What if I changed teams?
What a Jekyll and Hyde story.
Or he's just asked about his actual current teammates, and he's like, "Yeah, I think those guys have a chance to be good someday." As he's trying to work their way out of the Los Angeles
Instagram comment upcoming. Yeah.
How great would it have been if LeBron slipped on like Brandon? Yeah, he's going to be great in New Orleans. New Orleans? What are you talking about? Like, I mean,
that'd be great. He's too polished for that, man. He was born in this fire. So he's had that since high school. It's second nature to him now.
Last topic here on MJ. So him walking away. Patrick and I used to have these conversations all the time when we were talking about like, could they have won and kept winning? I feel like I can say definitively right now that they would have not kept winning. Jordan seemed like he was completely 100% done. So much so. Now, part of it was he beat all of the guys, right? He beat the Pistons, he beat Magic, he beat Larry, he beat Clyde, he beat he beat Charles Barkley, who was the other guy. No, but again, at the time, Clyde was, they're like,
sure.
Whatever. He's the next guy. He's coming up. He beat him. He beat everybody that was like sort of in front of him, and he got a 3-peat. And I think he was like, one, I'm out of challenges. If I come back, I'm just going to redo a challenge that I've already crossed. And then two, he really was just mentally fried. Like, I don't think he had it in him at that point, and he needed to take a break. And to me, that's like the biggest answer I've gotten to a question I didn't have an answer for. That is why he left. Do you feel the same way?
That's a good point. Yeah. And not just MJ too, the whole team, like Scotty, sat out for most of the year over contracts and stuff. And clearly we know how they feel about Krause. Like that stuff wasn't going to get fixed, I don't think. So yeah, I agree. And also I think the other part is when he's sitting about, oh, maybe I should come back. Maybe I should. He said he finished all the challenges. The only thing that would really change his legacy is if he got beat. Like say he got upset by then Utah got him like the next year. And then people are going to be like, oh yeah, but then Utah beat him.
Right.
And he seemed like a guy that really would like that on his resume so much. So, but then he went to the Wizards. So what do I know?
I don't want to get into comparing and contrasting LeBron too much, but I have been thinking about this. LeBron went to those 8 finals or whatever. And I do think that's an incredibly impressive feat. It does put it in a different context. But if you think about it, 2007, he goes to the finals. He has 7, 8, 9, 10 as a run with the Cavs. Then he goes to a new team where none of those guys retired. They were all fresh. Right, and he goes to 4 more. Then those guys are all burnt out. Chris Bosh retires shortly after. Dwayne Wade's done. He goes to Cleveland, gets another 4-year run. To me, I'm wondering if like LeBron is superhuman, and we know this about him, but part of him getting out of there, the teams were done.
That can't be overlooked, right? Because and this doesn't take anything away from his achievement, but Steve Kerr always said this. He said, I think Michael would have been ready for a 4th one, but there's no way we would have. Right. Like he said, yes, he would have been ready, but the team has to be, and we were done, whether he was or not. So
I don't think Michael was ready though, even for it.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying. I'm talking about from after '98. I think it was Kerr.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
In '93, I think it was him.
Championship, become a scratch golfer, like. Trying to balance those things.
It is wild, but we have reached the point of the show. Anybody else have any final comments before we?
Can I say one thing real quick, or I guess 2 quick things?
Go for it.
Isaiah Thomas. Have you guys noticed the back and forth now that's going between him? and Jordan?
Sure, yeah.
That's been great. But also going back to Ron Harper saying, "I got MJ." Right? Have you guys seen Greg Elo coming out and saying, that's funny hearing Ron talk about defense. My memory of Ron is he never played any defense. We had to cover for him in the Cavs. Everyone remembers him later with the Bulls becoming a defensive player after an injury, and now they think he was this defensive stopper. All he wanted to do was run and dunk on our team. I love that it's feisty between the old Cavs, too. This is great.
And did you see Oaks said, I think we lost because Ewing wasn't as good as Michael Jordan. You're like, no one's ever thrown a teammate under the bus harder ever. Like, no shit.
Yeah.
We got to dive into this later, but Oakley has thrown Ewing under the bus a lot as the centerpiece of the team.
So. Oakley throwing Ewing under the bus, what would that be like? Like Kyle Lowry throwing DeRozan under the bus? Turns out DeRozan's just not as good as LeBron. Like, yep, you're not really saying anything controversial there.
Yeah, you're like, dude, leave him alone.
Like, it's all his parents are telling him the same thing.
He never even claimed to. Yeah.
All right, it's time for the steps.
Let's go.
Rocky's steps.
Don't lose.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
That's really good advice. Hamburglar, I don't know if you know even how the steps work. It doesn't.
I do.
Okay.
I'm a loyal listener, yeah.
Loyal listener. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Let's make sure to reward that loyalty with some.
Yeah, you're going to drop something crazy on me.
You get past the second question. Statistics show
I'm here for your help on the Jordan question.
Patrick is your helper, and there's some of these he's going to be really good at, including this first one. What number did Michael Jordan wear?
Wow.
23, but also 45 that one time. So.
Oh,
There's actually
third one was
there
12.
a third one. Wow.
we would have
Yeah.
also accepted 2 Trey, like his.
Oh
license
God,
plate.
yeah, that was
Actually, we wouldn't have.
I think I would have got kicked off if I said that. Actually.
Yeah.
Second question: how many games did he wear? No, I'm just kidding.
okay.
Oh no.
Number 2. Oh, I forgot my animation. I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, there it is. It's right there. Number 2.
Don't say it doesn't matter.
Who did the Chicago Bulls defeat in the '93 finals?
93.
Phoenix Suns.
Oh, he froze.
Not gonna lie, that was the year I was born.
He's gonna.
He said Phoenix.
He kicked off for freezing.
Oh my
Um,
year.
we can't-
No, Phoenix.
there,
Got
he's
it.
back. He's back. He's back.
He's barely back.
We can't.
I
We,
don't know.
we can't do the Hamburglar like that, Adam. He gets all the grace period he
Yeah.
needs.
Oh,
Thanks,
I
buddy.
can totally do. All right. What was the name of the general manager of the Chicago Bulls, who's widely quoted as saying, "Players and coaches don't win championships; organizations win championships."
That was the Krausinator.
Yeah.
Chicago Bulls.
The Bulls.
That was incredible. That was just the first thing Jerry Krause thought of after this freaking organization.
Yeah.
God.
So good.
Soap
Wait,
opera.
didn't he take Kukoc in the second round too? Is that true?
Yeah.
So after all of that about how much he
That's right.
loved him, he took him
That's phenomenal.
second in that draft.
God, Krause was probably so
Shrewd
hyped when
businessman.
Jordan retired. Yes, I get to
Shrewd
rebuild it
businessman.
around Tony
He's gonna
So
Kukoc.
shrewd.
Number 4. Which shoe company did Michael Jordan prefer to sign with before agreeing to a deal with Nike in 1984?
He wanted to be an Adidas guy.
Yeah, we've talked about this on this very show. You've been paying attention. What is Horace Grant's relation to Jeremy Grant?
Ooh, I want to say uncle. I believe that's correct. Yes.
He didn't even ask it.
Oh, baby.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. All right,
Is this a sticker
Hamburglar.
question?
All right, Hamburg. No, I think you just got the sticker. That was number 5.
Bang.
So you can have a sticker pack, or you can risk it all and go for a T-shirt.
The thing is, I have this new laptop, and I actually do want some stickers
Yeah,
for
dude.
it. So I'm gonna take it.
There's
It's a
no
bear
Jordan
lap.
mentality.
I don't-
There's
I don't
no
like
Jordan
that.
mentality in these
I
guys.
love it. I love it.
What I love
Like I
is
said,
that
I'm a Joker guy. I'm gonna go play video games after.
It's good that you can walk away from
waiting
the
in the
gambling.
wings. We also had our other fellow sticker taker.
Yeah.
Oh,
Boom.
Yes.
Sticker squad.
Bucket
Yeah.
since '88.
Bucket,
That's
sorry we
right.
didn't get to you today, but bringing you on here for at least for a final bow.
if it makes you feel better, Bucket since '88 and Hamburglar, I had a whole online with D-Line all teed up. We're not even going to it.
Man.
Jordan
Jordan comes first in these times, you know. Yeah. I get it.
The the online with D-Line is going to be like the 97 and 98 Jazz.
Yeah.
almost got their shot.
Oh, I thought you just meant like curated by a bunch of white guys.
I thought we were talking short shorts. But,
Oh yeah. Delivered in short shorts. Right.
Bucket
Yes.
88. Any thoughts that we didn't get to about Jordan in these last couple episodes?
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it.
Damn
Got it
right
all.
we did.
Got it all.
Nailed it. Hey, yeah.
Jordan
Sign
said-
off, baby.
Adam,
All
will
right.
you let me share my screen for 1 second? I just have one thing.
All right, I have to kick one person off. Who should it be?
Hamburglar
Kick me
Hamburglar got the.
Give me the boost. Oh.
The guest. Come on.
This is for Harrison. Look at this.
Oh,
The
look
DNVR
man.
inaugural grand open.
He
Look
has
at
he can't even take his bow on here. How sad is that?
and not only
I
that.
have one more space. Why don't I bring up a vote?
Oh, look at this.
Oh, that photo is phenomenal.
Vote out.
The
Movie
DNVR
star quality.
circuit champion Brendan Vogt.
And he played with Barca, so I have a couple questions about that. But
Really? Can I?
Yeah.
Hold on. I got to bring vote on. Vote. Is this?
What were those questions? Was it easy or hard for you to beat everyone in the entire tournament with Barca?
Yeah, Messi's kind of a cheat code, but I mean, you can pick whoever you want, I guess. So, you know, do
I had the third pick in the draft, so don't blame me.
Wow.
yeah,
Is
Barca,
this
what's
your best
that?
photo vote? Everybody has their best photo. Is
It's
it?
phenomenal. Look at that.
I mean, incredible.
I mean, it's one of I have so many to choose.
All right. Well, we had fun while he was on.
See you guys.
All right.
Through the headshots. Yeah,
Everybody else, thanks so much for tuning in. We're going to be back again all week, Monday through Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock, and then on Fridays, of course, at noon. Patrick, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hamburglar, Bucket since 88. I know it was brief.
Anytime, gentlemen.
Look at the. I feel like the survivor. I'm the only one of the actual crew.
I know.
All right. Well, we're out of here. Thanks so much.
Well, you are the Jordan.
Yeah, took it too far. Yeah.